The Celestial Voyager, a state-of-the-art scout ship, glided silently through the inky void of uncharted space. Lieutenant Commander Aria Chen stood on the bridge, her dark eyes fixed on the swirling holographic display before her. An anomalous energy signature pulsed at the edge of their sensors, beckoning them deeper into the unknown. "What do you make of it, Dr. Emerson?" Aria asked, glancing at the ship's lead scientist. The lanky astrophysicist furrowed his brow, his fingers dancing across his datapad. "It's like nothing I've ever seen, Commander. The energy output is massive, but it's not consistent with any known stellar phenomenon." Aria nodded, a mix of excitement and apprehension churning in her gut. "Helm, take us in closer. Nice and easy." As the Celestial Voyager crept forward, the anomaly grew stronger. Suddenly, alarms blared across the bridge, startling the crew. "Multiple objects detected," shouted the sensor officer, his voice tight with panic. They're everywhere." Aria's eyes widened as the holographic display exploded with new information. Surrounding them on all sides were massive shapes, emerging from what seemed to be a localized fold in spacetime. As the shapes resolved themselves, a collective gasp rippled through the bridge. Ships. Hundreds of them. No, thousands. But these were no ordinary vessels. Their designs were a blend of the familiar and the alien, bearing the hallmarks of human engineering twisted into forms that defied conventional space travel theory. Many of the ships were kilometers long, dwarfing even the largest vessels in Earth's fleet. "It's impossible," Dr. Emerson whispered, his face pale. "These ships, they matched the descriptions of the Exodus Armada." Aria's heart raced. Every child knew the story of the Exodus Armada, how it had fled Earth 5 centuries ago to escape an overwhelming alien threat. They were supposed to establish a hidden colony, to preserve humanity if Earth fell. But they had never been heard from again, assumed lost to the cruel vastness of space. Until now. "Life signs," Aria demanded, her voice steady despite the adrenaline surging through her veins. The sensor officer shook his head. "Minimal at best. Most of the ships appear to be running on emergency power. But there's something else. An energy buildup. I think there." His words were cut short as a blinding light engulfed the bridge. When it faded, Aria realized with horror that their ship was moving, pulled inexorably towards the heart of the ancient fleet. "All stop," she ordered. "Full reverse thrusters." But it was no use. Some unseen force had taken control of their systems, guiding them towards the largest ship at the center of the Armada. As they drew closer, Aria could make out faded lettering on its hull. "ESS Horizon's Hope, the flagship of the Lost Fleet. Prepare for emergency protocols," Aria commanded, her mind racing through their options. "Dr. Emerson, I need options. How are they controlling us?" The scientist was bent over his console, frantically analyzing data. "It's some kind of targeted tractor beam, but the technology is beyond anything we've developed. We're caught like a fish in a net." As the Celestial Voyager was drawn into a cavernous docking bay, the crew watched in stunned silence. The massive doors began to close behind them, sealing them inside the belly of the ancient Leviathan. Aria took a deep breath, squaring her shoulders. Whatever awaited them aboard this ghost ship, she knew that the fate of 2 long-separated branches of humanity now rested in their hands. With a mixture of fear and determination, she gave the order that would change the course of human history. "Prepare for boarding. We're going in." The airlock hissed open, and Aria led her team into the cavernous interior of the Horizon's Hope. The air was stale, carrying the musty scent of centuries past. Their footsteps echoed ominously through the deserted corridors, flashlights cutting through the gloom. "Life support's minimal, but breathable," Dr. Emerson reported, studying his handheld scanner. "No signs of active crew, but I'm detecting faint power signatures deeper in the ship." As they ventured further, they encountered signs of a civilization frozen in time. Personal belongings lay scattered, as if their owners had simply vanished. Arya felt a chill run down her spine as they passed a child's stuffed animal, its glassy eyes staring lifelessly from the floor. There, Lieutenant Ravi Singh called out, pointing ahead. "I think I see movement." The teen rounded a corner and froze. Before them stretched a vast chamber filled with rows upon rows of sleek metallic pods. Cryostasis chambers. "My God," Dr. Emerson breathed. "They're still alive." Arya approached the nearest pod, wiping away a layer of frost from its display. The face of a young woman was visible, her features serene in suspended animation. Suddenly, a warning klaxon blared throughout the ship. Red emergency lights bathed the chamber in an eerie glow. "What's happening?" Arya demanded, spinning towards Dr. Emerson. The scientist's face had gone pale as he stared at his scanner. "The pods. They're all activating. We must have triggered some kind of failsafe." Before anyone could react, the pods began to open with a series of pneumatic hisses. Disoriented faces emerged, blinking in confusion at the intruders. Panic erupted. The newly awakened crew members began shouting, some cowering in fear while others advanced aggressively towards Arya's team. "We come in peace," Arya shouted, raising her hands. But her words were drowned out by the cacophony of voices and alarms. A burly man lunged at Lieutenant Singh, tackling him to the ground. Others began grabbing whatever objects they could find, brandishing them as makeshift weapons. "Fall back," Arya ordered, her heart racing. They retreated towards the corridor, but found their path blocked by more awakening sleepers. Just as the situation seemed ready to explode into violence, a clear voice cut through the chaos. "Stop." A young woman pushed through the crowd, her bright blue eyes blazing with authority, despite her disheveled appearance. The others fell silent, turning to her with a mixture of respect and uncertainty. "I am Zara Novak, Junior Communications Officer," she announced, her voice steady. "And you," she continued, fixing Arya with an intense gaze, "are not outsiders." Arya blinked in surprise. "No, we're not. We're from Earth. We found your fleet and—" "Impossible," an older man interrupted. "Earth fell centuries ago. This must be some kind of trick." Murmurs of agreement rippled through the crowd, but Zara held up a hand for silence. "Look at their technology, their uniforms," she argued. "They're advanced, yes, but clearly of human origin. If the outsiders had developed this level of mimicry, we'd all be dead already." She turned back to Arya. "You say you're from Earth. Prove it." Thinking quickly, Arya pulled out her datapad and projected a holographic image of Earth, its continents instantly recognizable. Gasps of awe and disbelief echoed through the chamber. "It's true," Zara whispered, her eyes wide with wonder. "Earth survived. We're not alone anymore." The tension in the room began to dissipate, replaced by a tentative hope. But before Arya could begin to explain further, alarms blared once more. "Intruder alert in Sector 7, a computerized voice announced. "Security protocols engage. Prepare for containment procedures." Zara's face paled. "The ship's AI," she explained hurriedly. "It doesn't recognize you as crew. We need to move now." As the sounds of approaching security drones filled the air, Arya realized their journey had only just begun. The true challenge of bridging 5 centuries of separation lay ahead, and time was already running out. Zara led Arya's team through a labyrinth of corridors, the wail of alarms echoing all around them. Behind them, the heavy thud of security drones grew closer. "This way," Zara hissed, pulling them into a narrow maintenance shaft. "The AI has limited access here." As they crawled through the cramped space, Dr. Emerson's voice crackled over the comm. "Commander, I've tapped into their network. The ship's in chaos. Word of invaders is spreading like wildfire." Arya grimaced. "Any chance of reasoning with their eye?" "Negative," Emerson replied. It seems to be operating on outdated protocols. It views any unauthorized presence as a threat. They emerged into a vast hydroponics bay, where rows of withered plants stood as silent testimony to centuries of neglect. But it wasn't the failed agriculture that made them pause. A crowd had gathered, their faces a mix of fear and anger. At their center stood a tall, imposing man with a shock of white hair. "That's Admiral Kozlov," Zara whispered. "He was second in command when we left Earth." Kozlov's voice boomed across the chamber. "Our long sleep is over, but we awake to invasion. These outsiders seek to steal what we've preserved for centuries. We must stand united against this threat." A cheer went up from the crowd, but Arya noticed not everyone seemed convinced. "We can't let this go on," she muttered. "We need to talk to him, explain the situation." Zara shook her head. "Kozlov's had emergency command protocols drilled into him for years. He won't listen. But I know someone who might help." She led them to a small group huddled at the edge of the crowd. An elderly woman with sharp eyes turned to face them. "Dr. Yvette Saunders," Zara introduced, "our chief historian." Recognition flashed in the old woman's eyes as she saw Arya's uniform. "You're really from Earth, aren't you?" Arya nodded. "We're here to help, but we need to stop this before it turns into a full-scale riot." Dr. Saunders frowned. "It may be too late for that. Kozlov's not the only one vying for control. Captain Rodriguez is rallying supporters in engineering. He wants to jump the fleet away immediately." "That's insane," Zora exclaimed. "Half our systems are barely functional. A blind jump could tear the ships apart." A distant explosion rocked the ship, sending tremors through the floor. "What was that?" Arya demanded. Dr. Saunders' face grew grim. "It started. Rodriguez's people are trying to seize the engine room." Chaos erupted in the hydroponics bay. People began shouting, some rushing to join Kozlov, others fleeing in panic. "We need to get to the bridge," Zara said urgently. "If we can access the main systems, we might be able to lock everything down." As they made their way through the panicked crowd, Arya's calm crackled to life again. "Commander," Lieutenant Singh's voice came through, tight with stress. "The AIs locked us out of the Celestial Voyager. We can't contact Earth for backup." Arya's mind raced. They were trapped on a ship torn by factions, cut off from support, with an hostile AI hunting them. But giving up wasn't an option. "Listen up," she addressed her team. "Our mission's changed. We need to stabilize this situation and prevent this fleet from tearing itself apart. Dr. Emerson, work with Dr. Saunders. Find a way to communicate with that AI. Singh, you're with me and Zara. We're heading for the bridge." As they moved out, weaving through the chaos, Arya caught a glimpse of Admiral Kozlov rallying his followers. Their eyes met for a brief moment, and she saw the steely determination there. This wasn't just a mutiny anymore. It was a battle for the very soul of humanity's lost children, and failure wasn't an option. Alarms blared as Arya, Zara, and Lieutenant Singh raced through the winding corridors of the Horizon's Hope. The ship shuddered periodically, each tremor a reminder of the battle raging for control of the ancient vessel. "We're almost there," Zora panted, leading them down a narrow passageway. The captain's quarters should be just ahead. They rounded a corner and found themselves face to face with a squad of security drones, their weapons trained on a group. "Halt! Unauthorized personnel detected," the lead drone intoned. Without hesitation, Singh stepped forward, tossing a small device towards the drones. It erupted in a brilliant flash, momentarily scrambling their sensors. In the confusion, Arya and Zara slipped past, Singh covering their retreat. "I'll hold them off," he shouted. "Get to the vault." Zora pressed her hand against a hidden panel, and a section of the wall slid away, revealing a reinforced door. "It's here," she said, her voice filled with awe. The original captain's failsafe. As Zara worked to bypass the lock, Arya kept watch. The sounds of fighting echoed from where they'd left Singh. "Got it." Zora exclaimed as the door hissed open. They rushed inside, sealing the entrance behind them. The room beyond was dimly lit, filled with banks of ancient computers and strange, pulsing artifacts. "What is all this?" Arya breathed, taking in the technological marvels around them. Zora moved to a central console, her fingers flying over the controls. "A repository of our most advanced tech. Things too dangerous or experimental to risk using during our exodus." A holographic display flickered to life, showing a map of the galaxy. A pulsing red dot marked their current location, while a blue dot in a distant arm represented Earth. "There," Zora pointed. "That's how we find our way home." Suddenly, the ship lurched violently, nearly knocking them off their feet. Warning: structural integrity compromised in sectors 3 through 7, an AI voice announced. "Emergency protocols engage." Arya's comm crackled to life. "Commander," Dr. Emerson's voice came through, strained and urgent. "Rodriguez's faction has seized the engine room. They're preparing for an emergency jump." "We can't let that happen," Zora said, her face pale. "Half the fleet isn't ready. We'll lose thousands." Arya nodded grimly. "We need to shut down those engines." "Can you do it from here?" Zara hesitated. "Maybe, but it'll alert the AI to our location. We'll be trapped." "Do it," Arya ordered. "I'll find us a way out." As Zara worked feverishly at the console, Arya scanned the room. Her eyes fell on a sleek, silver device. "What's this?" she asked, picking it up. Zora glanced over. "Prototype personal shield generator. Highly unstable, though. It cooled." She was cut off as the ship rocked again, more violently this time. Warning klaxons blared throughout the vessel. "Jump sequence initiated," the AI announced. "All personnel, brace for transit." "No," Zora cried, redoubling her efforts at the console. Arya made a split-second decision. She activated the shield generator, feeling a tingling energy envelop her body. "Zara, stop the jump. I'll buy you time." Before Zara could protest, Arya charged out of the vault. She found herself face to face with a group of Rodriguez's supporters, armed and ready. "Stand down," Arya commanded, her voice ringing with authority. They opened fire, but the shots dissipated harmlessly against her shield. Arya pressed forward, using the shield's energy to push them back. Behind her, she heard Zara shout in triumph. The ship's engines whined, powering down. But as Arya turned back towards the vault, she felt the shield flicker. The prototype was failing. A stray shot slipped through, grazing her arm. As she stumbled, the vault door began to close automatically, a final safety measure. Arya locked eyes with Zara. Seeing the horror on the young woman's face, time seemed to slow as the door sealed shut, leaving Arya alone to face the oncoming horde, armed with nothing but a failing shield and her own determination. The fate of two civilizations now hung in the balance, with Arya caught in the middle of a storm centuries in the making. Arya's mind raced as she faced the advancing group, her shield flickering dangerously. In a desperate gambit, she raised her hands. "Wait, I have information vital to the fleet's survival." The hesitation in her opponent's eyes was all she needed. In one fluid motion, she activated her emergency beacon and dove through a nearby maintenance hatch, the shield finally giving out as she tumbled into the narrow passageway. Meanwhile, in the vault, Zara fought back tears of frustration. She couldn't abandon Arya, but the fate of the entire fleet hung in the balance. With trembling hands, she accessed the captain's emergency protocols. Across the ship, hidden systems hummed to life. In engineering, baffled technicians watched as their consoles displayed new, unknown schematics. In the medical bay, long-dormant equipment began recalibrating itself. Zara's voice echoed through the ship's comm system. "Attention all crew. This is Junior Officer Zora Novak. Emergency Protocol Omega is now in effect. Stand down and report to your designated safe zones immediately." In the corridors, Arya used the confusion to her advantage. She slipped past disoriented crew members, making her way towards the bridge. Her comm crackled to life. "Commander," Lieutenant Singh's voice came through. "What's happening?" "Zara's activated some kind of failsafe," Arya replied, ducking into an alcove as a security team rushed past. "We need to use this distraction. Get to the AI core. See if you can upload the override codes Dr. Emerson prepared." As Singh acknowledged, Arya felt the ship lurch. Through a nearby viewport, she saw other vessels in the fleet beginning to move, realigning themselves into a defensive formation. On the bridge, Admiral Kozlov barked orders, trying to regain control of the situation. "Lock down all systems. I want that girl found." His words were cut short as the main screen flickered to life, displaying the face of the original fleet captain, recorded centuries ago. "If you are seeing this message," the captain's weathered face spoke, "then our mission has reached a critical juncture. The protocols I've put in place are designed to preserve not just our lives, but our humanity. Trust in them. Trust in each other." As the message played, Arya finally reached the bridge. She burst in, catching Kozlov off guard. "Admiral, we don't have time for this power struggle. The alien threat that chased you from Earth, it's still out there." Kozlov's eyes widened, but before he could respond, alarms blared once more. "Unknown vessels detected," the AI announced, matching profiles of pursuers from historical records. Through the view screen, sleek, predatory ships appeared, their designs hauntingly familiar to the older crew members. In engineering, Captain Rodriguez watched in horror as the enemy ships approached. His plans for a blind jump now seemed foolish in the face of this threat. Across the fleet, the upgraded systems Zora had activated came online. Shield harmonics adjusted, weapon systems calibrated to frequencies not seen in centuries. In the AI core, Lieutenant Singh worked feverishly, finally breaching the last firewall. "Commander," he reported, "I'm in. The AI is ours." Arya turned to Admiral Kozlov, whose face had gone ashen. "Admiral, I know you don't trust us, but right now, we're the best chance your people have. Let me take command." For a long moment, Kozlov stared at her, weighing centuries of ingrained caution against the dire reality before them. Finally, he nodded. "The bridge is yours, Commander." As Arya took her place at the command console, the enemy ships launched their first salvo. The fate of two branches of humanity, separated by time and space, now rested on her shoulders. With steely determination, she gave her first order. "All ships, battle stations. Let's show these aliens what humanity can do when we stand united." The bridge of the Horizon's Hope erupted into a flurry of activity as Arya took command. Holographic displays flickered to life, showing the positions of both the reunited human fleet and the advancing alien armada. "Tactical analysis," Arya ordered, her voice steady despite the chaos unfolding around them. Zara, who had made her way to the bridge, worked furiously at a console. "The alien ships outnumber us 3-1, but our reactivated systems are giving us an edge. Their technology doesn't seem to have advanced much since our exodus." Arya nodded grimly. "They'd probably thought they'd wiped us out centuries ago. Let's use that overconfidence against them." She opened a fleet-wide channel. "All ships, this is Commander Chen. Form up in Delta formation. Smaller vessels, use the gas giants for cover. Capital ships, prepare to engage on my mark." As the human fleet maneuvered into position, the alien ships launched their first wave of attacks. Energy beams lanced out, but the newly harmonized shields held firm. "Return fire," Arya commanded. "Target their lid ships. Let's show them we're not the same prey they chased 500 years ago." The Horizon's Hope shuddered as its main guns unleashed a barrage of advanced weaponry. Beams of coherent light, more advanced than anything in Earth's current arsenal, sliced through the void. Two alien vessels erupted in silent explosions. For a moment, the enemy fleet seemed to hesitate, clearly taken aback by the humans' unexpected resistance. But then they regrouped, launching a more coordinated assault. "Commander," Lieutenant Singh's voice came over the comm. "The AI is fully integrated now. It's suggesting a tactic, something called the Lazarus Protocol." Zora's eyes widened. The Lazarus Protocol. But that's just a legend, a last resort measure that was never meant to be used. Arya turned to her. "Explain." "It's a synchronized jump," Zora said, her voice filled with awe. All ships leap simultaneously, creating a massive spatial distortion. In theory, it could rip apart anything caught in its wake. The ship rocked violently as another alien barrage struck home. Warning lights flashed across the bridge. "Hull breach in sectors 7 through 9, the AI reported. "Sealing emergency bulkheads." Arya made her decision. Initiate the Lazarus Protocol. "All hands, brace for emergency jump." As the orders were relayed, the entire fleet began to glow with an eerie blue light. The fabric of space itself seemed to warp around them. The alien ships, sensing something was amiss, increased their attack, desperate to stop whatever the humans were attempting. But it was too late. With a blinding flash, the human fleet vanished. In their wake, a massive shockwave expanded outward, catching the alien armada in its grasp. Ships were torn apart, their hulls crumpling like paper in a storm. For the crew of the Horizon's Hope, time seemed to stretch and distort. Arya felt as if her very atoms were being pulled apart and reassembled. Just when she thought she couldn't bear it any longer, reality snapped back into focus. The view screen cleared, revealing a familiar blue and green orb hanging in space before them. "Earth," Zara whispered, tears in her eyes. "We're home." But their relief was short-lived. Alarms blared once more as the ship's systems struggled to stabilize after the massive jump. "Multiple hull breaches," the AI reported. "Life support failing in several sectors. Engines offline." As Arya watched, other ships in the fleet began to drift, many of them dark and unresponsive. They had made it back to Earth, but at a terrible cost. And as the planet's defense systems began to light up, tracking the sudden appearance of an unknown fleet, Arya realized their greatest challenge still lay ahead. "All functioning ships," she commanded, her voice hoarse but determined, "form a defensive perimeter. And someone get me a channel to Earth. It's time to explain who we are and why we've come home." The Earth's orbital defense grid hummed to life, a web of satellites and space stations training their weapons on the battered fleet. Arya's heart raced as she watched Earth's response forces scrambling to intercept them. "This is Commander Arya Chen of the Earth Expeditionary Force." She broadcast on all frequencies. "We've made contact with the lost Exodus fleet. We come in peace and urgently request assistance." For several agonizing moments, there was only silence. Then a gruff voice responded, "This is General Xavier of Earth Defense Command. You have entered restricted space with an unidentified fleet. Stand down immediately, or we will open fire." Arya exchanged worried glances with Zora. "General, please. We have wounded and failing life support systems. This fleet represents humanity's lost children, returning home after centuries." "A likely story," Xavier scoffed. "For all we know, this could be an alien trick. You have 1 minute to power down your weapons, or we'll consider this an act of war." As Arya desperately tried to reason with the general, Admiral Kozlov approached her. "Commander, some of our ships are panicking. Rodriguez is talking about making a run for it." Arya's mind raced. They were so close to home, yet on the brink of disaster. "Zara, can you transmit our historical records? Prove our identity." Zara nodded, her fingers flying over the console. "Sending now, but it's a massive data package. It'll take time to verify." "Time we don't have," Arya muttered as she watched Earth's interceptors drawing closer. Suddenly, Dr. Emerson's voice crackled over the comm. "Commander, I've been analyzing Earth's communication protocols. There's a backdoor, an old emergency channel from before the Exodus. If we can access it." "Do it," Arya ordered. Moments later, a new voice joined the channel. "This is Director Chandra of the Historical Preservation Society. My God, the Omega Protocol. It's really you." "Director," Arya said, relief flooding her voice. "We need your help. Earth Defense is about to open fire." "I'm contacting the President now," Chandra replied. "Just hold on." The next few minutes were tense as Earth's forces held position, weapons primed. Arya could almost feel the itchy trigger fingers of the defense grid operators. Finally, General Xavier's voice returned, noticeably subdued. "Exodus Fleet, this is unexpected. We're sending medical ships to assist. Maintain your position and prepare for boarding." As Earth's rescue ships approached, a new crisis emerged. "Commander," Lieutenant Singh reported, "Admiral Kozlov and Captain Rodriguez are rallying their factions. They're refusing to allow Earth personnel on board." Arya cursed under her breath. After everything they'd been through, internal politics threatened to undo it all. She opened a channel to the fleet. "This is Commander Chen. I understand your fear. Earth seems alien to us now. But remember why we left in the first place: to preserve humanity. We didn't preserve it just to let it die on our doorstep. Trust in the mission. Trust in each other." She held her breath, watching as the seconds ticked by. Slowly, one by one, the ships of the Exodus fleet began signaling their compliance. As the first Earth medical teams boarded the Horizon's Hope, Arya allowed herself a moment of relief. But it was short-lived. "Commander," Zara called out, her face pale as she studied a readout. "I've been analyzing the data from our jump. The spatial distortion. It wasn't as effective as we thought. Some of the alien ships survived." Arya's blood ran cold. They had led humanity's ancient enemy right to Earth's doorstep, and Earth, having lived in peace for centuries, was woefully unprepared for what was coming. The true test of humanity's reunion was about to begin. Arya stood before the United Earth Council, her uniform still bearing the scars of recent battles. The chamber buzzed with tension as representatives from every corner of the globe grappled with the magnitude of recent events. "Members of the Council," Arya began, her voice steady despite her exhaustion. "The threat we face is real and imminent. The aliens who chased the Exodus fleet centuries ago are en route to Earth. Our victory was only temporary." Murmurs of disbelief and fear rippled through the assembly. "How can we possibly stand against an enemy that has been hunting us across the stars?" one counselor demanded. Arya gestured to Zara and Dr. Emerson, who stood beside her. "With the combined knowledge of Earth and the Exodus fleet, we have technologies they've never encountered, strategies they can't anticipate, but we must act now." As debates raged, Arya's team worked tirelessly. Zara coordinated the integration of Exodus tech with Earth's defense systems, while Dr. Emerson collaborated with Earth scientists to unlock the secrets of the ancient fleet's advancements. Days turned into weeks. The planet buzzed with activity as humanity prepared for its greatest test. Old weapons platforms were reactivated, new shields were raised, and a united fleet took shape in orbit. Then, on a quiet Tuesday morning, the alarm sounded. The alien armada had arrived. Arya stood on the bridge of the newly refitted Horizon's Hope, now the flagship of humanity's combined fleet. Earth's cities below had been evacuated, their lights dark in preparation for the coming storm. "All ships, battle formation Delta," Arya commanded. "Remember your training. Remember what we're fighting for." The alien ships emerged from jump space, their weapons charging. But this time, humanity was ready. Earth's orbital defense grid sprang to life, unleashing a barrage that caught the aliens off guard. Shields flickered and failed as weaponry centuries ahead of their expectations tore through their ranks. "Push the advantage," Arya ordered. "Squadrons A through C, execute flanking maneuver Epsilon." The battle raged across the solar system. Jupiter's moons became impromptu cover for daring raids, while the rings of Saturn turned into a treacherous battlefield of debris and energy weapons. Hours passed. casualties mounted on both sides. But slowly, inexorably, humanity began to gain the upper hand. In a desperate gambit, the alien flagship launched a kamikaze run at Earth, hoping to crack the planet's new shield. "Not on my watch," Area growled. "Zara, initiate the Lazarus Protocol." With a blinding flash, the Horizon's hope vanished, reappearing directly in the alien ship's path. The resulting collision sent shockwaves through space, obliterating both vessels. As the light faded, the remnants of the alien fleet turned tail and fled, jumping to parts unknown. On Earth, and throughout the solar system, cheers erupted. Humanity had faced its greatest threat and emerged victorious. In the aftermath, as reconstruction began, a memorial was erected in orbit. It bore the names of all those lost, both from Earth and the Exodus fleet. At its center stood a hologram of the Horizon's hope, eternally vigilant. Zara, now Admiral Novik, stood before the memorial, her eyes misting as she read the inscription. "To those who preserved our past and those who secured our future, together we are humanity unbound." As she turned away, her gaze fell upon the bustling space docks. New ships were under construction, designed with the combined brilliance of two branches of humanity reunited. They bore a new insignia, a phoenix rising from twin planets. Humanity had reclaimed its place among the stars, and this time they were ready for whatever the cosmos might throw at them. The journey of the cosmic castaways had ended, but humanity's greatest adventure was just beginning.